You're listening to the Staging Sips podcast with Lori Fisher. This podcast is dedicated to helping real estate staging CEOs build healthy businesses that grow, flow, and thrive. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. And you know this, I'm always so happy to be with you. And I was thinking this week about how I start the podcast every week. And I thought, I wonder if this is like really annoying to people or if they like it. And then I thought, well, I would love to just sit down and start with some like hook, like some zinger to grab your attention. But at the same time, I actually want to tell you that I'm really happy to be here sitting and thinking about what are the potential hurdles that you are having in your business and how I might be able to help with the information that I have. So I probably am going to continue to tell you I'm happy to be with you because I am. I just am. So anyway, with that said, wherever you are listening today, whether it's in your car or you're getting ready for your day or you're cleaning up the house, whatever that is, I'm just like thrilled to be with you and share with you this week all about project management tools and how they can be amazing for your staging business. And I want to start with this because you may have a project management tool you are using already. And I'm going to share with you the tool we use and how we use it. But my husband shared this quote with me recently from some big hedge fund manager. And I thought, oh, this is so perfect because we've been talking about a lot of the tools that I use in my business. I've been sharing why I love them. And it might be your inclination to totally scrap what you are doing and be like, oh, Lori's using such and such. So let me go try to use that in my business. But the quote was this: not all opinions are equal, so don't treat them as such. Even mine. Even my opinion. I'm sharing what I love in my business, but I want you, if you've got a tool that you absolutely love, what you can do is take, like, the reason why I share with you why I love the tools I use and how I use them is so that if you've got a tool that you love and that is working for you, you very likely can find a way to use it in similar ways. If there's something that I do that you think is really cool, you can probably use whatever existing tool you have in a similar way. And I have fallen into the trap over the years that I don't want you to fall into. And that is this, that I have been using tools from the beginning of my business that I really, really like. And, you know, for me, it's that my customer relationship management tool, I use Aweber. I use Google, as I've mentioned many times over. Well, on occasion, and I dare I say more than one time, I have been enticed when I've hired a virtual assistant or an admin that they have wanted to use a different tool than what I have. And they tell me all the reasons why, because, you know, they really love this tool and here's what it's going to do for my business. And to be honest with you, all it has done is cause confusion for me. And not what I found out was that they could have used the tool I had. They just didn't know how to use it that way. And because I wasn't exactly sure what they were trying to accomplish, I didn't know that I could literally show them how to do it with my tool. So I spent a lot of time struggling, feeling frustrated, feeling annoyed, slowed down by trying to use something that I thought that somebody more expert than me was using. So I just want to caution you coming out of all of these podcasts that I've been sharing with the tools is, again, just keep in mind that if you are comfortable using something, stick with it. That's great. It may not have everything you need, but it probably has most things you need. So I'm just sharing with you my best practices for how I like to use them. So, okay, there we go. Let me get off of that little soapbox and let's dive into project management tools and how it can be really, really awesome for your business if you're not using one already. So I know for you, many of you, most of us, maybe all of us, we walk into most rooms and we know what to do to make that room better. We could probably come up with a few things in each room that would make it photograph better, make it feel better, whether that's how to arrange the furniture, place the art, accessorize the surfaces. And really all that is that we have learned systems and processes to style rooms. And we've been practicing those, many of us, from our childhood bedrooms. I always hear that story, or with our friends and family for years. And that has allowed us to become very expert and clear on what the process is. And even if the house is different, even if the furniture is different, even if, the parameters are totally different, we can still follow some tried and true processes and steps to create beautiful spaces. So even though the packaging is different, the steps aren't always different. And it's interesting because I've been hired recently by a builder to help them create their systems for their design process, their front-end design process. And it's really been fascinating because what keeps happening, and I've shared this with them, is that what I have noticed is that they say that every project is a little different. This one's a little different because it's, a whole house renovation. This one's a little different because it's just a bathroom project. This one's a little different because of XYZ. And what I have had to tell them is that even though the end result is a little bit different, the steps that we go through to onboard their clients is not different. It should not be different. Even if the timeline is compressed or any of that, we have to go through the same sets of steps every time to get those projects to finish. And so it's been really interesting to see how another business, and he's like a multi-million-dollar, almost I don't know how many figures is that? 8-figure business? Yeah, it's almost an 8-figure business. And that's how he operates. And so he had asked me because we've worked together on projects, and he's like, you're very organized. Your team is very organized. Can you help me organize this? So it's been really interesting. But anyway, so what I'm basically what I'm going to tell you is that's really what systems are. They're just the steps you follow each time. And if you can follow the same steps each time, you get to check boxes faster, and you can do things so much more efficiently because you've done it over and over and over again, and you don't need to redecide every time. And that's what I have tried to impart to this business owner, is that every time a project comes in, you're redeciding how the process should work. And that makes it very confusing for your team. It takes too much time. So you're not getting projects through your pipeline fast enough because nothing has been done in a standardized way. Like, just practice doing it in a standardized way. So that is really what we're doing with the back end of our businesses, is we're wrapping the back end of our businesses with formulas and steps and processes that we can practice over and over and over again so we can get things done a lot more quickly. And when you think about it, we juggle a lot of balls for our projects. Just think about it. Like, there's project onboarding, right? So there's intake calls, there's sending client agreements. You might have to go out and preview a property. There's collecting payment. There's scheduling of your packet, your pull in your pack, your delivery, your install, your D-stage, your restock. And that's just one service. Never mind if you have a consultation-based business, if you are working with design clients, doing e-design or things like that. Think about all of those steps in that process, like client onboarding, helping preparing your client for what to expect. There's a lot going on there. And when you have a team and you have all of those steps and things you've got to manage, you want to be able to assign tasks easily to the responsible team member, make the steps super easy to follow in the same way every single time. You want to see the status of task completion. You want to reduce redundancies. You want to increase efficiency and communication along the way. When you do that, it puts like rocket fuel on your business. And I've told the story before where when I worked with a productivity coach to develop my first systems in my business, then the months when we wrapped our work, it was like an 8-week process. The very next month, with implementing the new processes and the systems, doing SOPs, which I'll share with you how we do that in a minute, I went from a 5-figure month to a 6-figure month. And I mean, a 4-figure month to a 5-figure month, sorry. So that was my first 5-figure month, was once we got a project management tool in place, and I had mapped out my first, just one standard operating procedure that just I was using. I was the only team member at the time. So this can really, really help you increase your profitability because you can do so much more in less time, whether it's just you or you've got team members. So let's just talk about some of the software that is out there and available to you. So our team uses Asana. We absolutely love it. That was probably because I started back 13 years ago now, but there are many others today that you can look at. There's Monday, there's ClickUp, there's Trello, there's Smartsheet. There are many, many really good tools. I love Asana because you've got a free version, and then even if you wanted to go to their paid version that offers you a little bit more, it's still not outrageously expensive. But the free version is what we use in our business every single day. I use the paid version for my podcast, but for our in-person business, we use our free version every single time. So I love Asana. And here's how we use it so that you can investigate if you don't have a software right now, or if you're using one and maybe you want to hear how we use ours to make your process even better. The first thing that we do, which I think is brilliant, is we created all of our standard operating procedure templates in Asana. So what is that? What is a standard operating procedure template? So basically, in each of your project management tools, you can create a project with a series of steps underneath it, a series of tasks. So for example, actually, since I'm here, I have Asana open. Let me open up my standard operating procedure for Rethink Home Interiors, and I can walk you through one of our SOPs. So I'm going to find the one for our styling evaluation. Okay. So in our styling evaluation process, we have, if the realtor uses the Acuity link to pay the service, it lists that you'll get a notification that a new appointment has been added to the calendar, and then continue with the steps under the section titled after the initial call. Okay. So then we go down to that. You're going to, the background steps are set up a project for them in Asana, update the Google Drive for the client, and it walks you through all the steps to do that. Schedule a templated email to go to the seller the night before, reminding them of our appointment. Add the project to Harvest to time tracking. Save the Zillow listing so we get a notification. Add the seller's information to our client spreadsheet. Add the relative information to the scorecard that we use for our huddle meetings, meaning who was the realtor? Was it a repeat business? Add it to the number of styling evaluation appointments we've had for the week. When you receive the PayPal notification, forward that payment to the accounting department. Continue with the after appointment admin responsibilities below. So there's like all these steps that we go through. So we've outlined that. So what we did was we created we call it our SOP styling evaluation. We color code it red, which means that is a template that we are only going to use to copy. So each time we get a styling evaluation appointment, my admin comes in and she makes a copy of this SOP styling evaluation and she renames it. And that is actually set up the project for them in Asana. If you go into the details of that task, it says, click the down arrow to the right of the title SOP styling evaluation, choose to use as a template or copy the project, rename it, and we rename it in a very specific way, and make sure the following boxes are checked: task description, assignees, all of that stuff. So in each step, we have a description for how you're going to use that. So that's the first thing we do, because what happens is when we make that copy of that standard operating procedure and we rename it with the client appointment, then what she can do is we have tags for team member positions. So stager is a tag. So she can sort on all the tags, all the steps that are identified for stager, and she can assign it to our team member. So if it's going to be assigned to Lisa or Kristen or Eileen, she can do that very quickly by sorting on all the projects that are tagged to be assigned to a stager and just assign it all in bulk at one time. It's brilliant. So we also use templates. So we use templates for each project type, but then we have quarterly, monthly, and weekly standard operating procedure templates. So quarterly at like this time of year, our quarterly standard operating procedure involves ordering holiday cards. It involves creating emails for all of the holidays that we're closed for in the upcoming year. It involves working with the bookkeeper and sending information over to our accountant to see if there's anything we need to do to reduce our tax liability when we go to file next year. So there's all these things that we do by each quarter. Then there are monthly things that we do. So monthly things that happen are things like archiving projects that have closed. They are things like reviewing our revenue for the previous month. Our bookkeeper is always like a month behind us. So tracking that, it's doing some data analytics. Monthly is also grabbing my utility bills and making sure that those get sent to bookkeeping so that they're accounted for my home office deductions for the following tax year. So that's like a monthly activity. And then there's weekly activities. The weekly activities are, for me, would be, thought download for the week, getting that done, doing my financial Fridays and weekly reviews. It's having our team huddle, like all of those kinds of things. So you can create templates by project type and then by weekly, monthly, and quarterly that you can just create so that you don't have to think every month or every week or every quarter, what are the things you're going to do? You just document them one time and then you start running them as a system. Okay, so that's the first thing we do with our SOP templates. So we create them and then we simply copy them each time we want to use them and rename them with the current project name. Then we use tags, as I mentioned. So tags are really fantastic for if you want to, again, quickly identify who's an assignee for a task. So in our case, we create the tags, like I said, for team position. So the tags are admin, Lori, because they're just Lori tasks, and then stager. So especially when somebody, when there is a role that multiple people occupy, so it might be mover, it might be admin team, like create tags for those positions. And then when a new project is created, then you simply sort on those tags and you can quickly assign to the correct team member within that department. So that's a great way to use tags. We also use tags in a little bit of different way in our comments. So when we're working on a project and we have to communicate back and forth and maybe hand off and let somebody know that they're ready for the next step, and our podcast is actually our podcast SOP template is a really good example of this, is that there are certain things I need to do, like record this, and then I have to notify the podcast team that I've done that. So I go into the comments of the task, notify podcast team, and I tag them, and you tag them just like you do on Instagram by putting the the @ sign in front of it, in front of the person's name, and it tags them, and you just tag them and say, this step has been completed, it's all ready for you, and you can attach documents or add links into that comment section. So we use tags in that way as well. We also have priority status. So not every project that gets assigned is important. And this is really for those kind of things that come up on the fly and on the daily. So for us, when I'm working on, for example, a client agreement and it's ready to be sent to the client, I will create a task in Asana for Catherine in our office to send out that client agreement. And that, of course, would be high priority. That's got to go out immediately. It's, everything else sort of should get dropped. That needs to get done immediately. That is revenue generation for us. But if there are things like research a new bookkeeper, for example, that one would probably be medium status. Like she can do that in the downtimes of her day. And then there are things that are lower priority, like it could be like we're thinking about where to book our holiday luncheon for the team. And if we're talking about this in October, that can be one of the lower priority things that she has on her list. I'm just kind of thinking off the cuff of how we would use those at this time of year. But anyway, so that's really nice because it really indicates to your team, especially if you're assigning the task, they might think everything is important, and you want to really help them understand what you see as highest priority versus lowest priority. So that is kind of, again, not for necessarily your standard operating procedures, but for those things that come in on the fly day to day. So we love to, rather than assigning and saying in an email, hey, can you make this happen? We put it into our project management software so that the box can get checked so we know that it got done. That's like really nice to see that something has gotten done. So those are the ways that we use our project management tool. We use it by creating our standard operating procedure templates, using tags, commenting, and priority status. If you have a project management tool that enables you to do all of that, then stick with it, stay with it, and really commit to using it. And I've said this in previous episodes, and I'll say it again, that when you create your first standard operating procedure, it's a living, breathing, very fluid, dynamic thing. You're going to learn as you start to implement. You're going to put all of the steps in that you think you need. And then you're going to find out you missed 5 steps, or you have a duplication, or they're not in the right order. And that's part of the process. So from a mindset and a beliefs process, I want you to understand that this is not going to be perfect, and you may not know where to start. The best thing is to just observe how you do things. If you don't have anything in place for a project management tool or standard operating procedures, the best place to start is observing how you do things, and then starting to capture those steps in that process. And how do you do it? Like, what do you do and how do you do it? Or how do you want it to be done, right? Because sometimes we don't do it to the level that we want it to be done because we've got so many other things to do. But if you could ideally have a step done, what would it look like? That's really how you start, by building your standard operating procedures and your processes for your team. And then you run with it and you see where it's not working. And just know that that is absolutely part of the process of dialing it in. And it will feel cumbersome and clunky and confusing until it doesn't. And that is the amazing thing, that it's like you go from a place of feeling like, oh my gosh, this is just like more busy work. It's an exercise in futility. It can be very frustrating at times, until all of a sudden you realize, oh, look, we're checking these boxes so quickly now, and they're all in the order they should be, and everybody knows what they're doing, and it's just humming. It's a really, really beautiful, beautiful thing to see. So, my friends, I hope this has been a really great sip for you, and I hope you have an amazing week. And if you've loved this, scroll to the bottom of the page of wherever you are, wherever it is where you can rate the podcast. You don't even need to leave a review. If you start leaving ratings for us, then other business owners will get to find this resource. And I love Adam Grant, who is an organizational organizational behaviorist or something. He works with organizations and their behavior. He has said that when you have an idea that can help other people, it's important to share it with the world. And you all have an idea, a skill that is important to share with the world, as do your fellow staging business owners. And I want to help them do that. I want you all to be able to share your gifts with the world. And I want you to do it because you are a thriving business. So let's help other staging businesses thrive, because as we know, a rising tide lifts all boats. So that's what I have for you. And join us in the Staging Business School Accelerate program. This is the work that we do. This is what is in there, is learning how to do your standard operating procedures, how to bring on team members, how to work with the team members you have and enhance your organization. So please, if this is valuable to you at all, I would love to see you join us. If you have started to create money in your business, your staging business, and you're hitting, 25,000 and north of that, you would be ready for Accelerate. So come in and join us, okay? And the link is in the show notes. All right, everybody, that is your sip for the week. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening to the Staging Sips podcast. If you love what you've learned here today, please take a minute to rate and review it so more staging business owners can find us. And if you want to learn more about how to market and grow your staging business more strategically, I'd love to see you join us inside of the Rethink You Accelerate mentorship program. It is open enrollment. You can get more details at rethinkhomeinteriors.com/rethinkyou. Would love to see you inside.